I was asked to talk today, do a bit of a keynote on AI and how that can impact enterprise in the future. But I'm going to start by talking about people, human beings, us in the room. Show of hands, how many of you in the room have ever said, oh, I need two of me to get everything done today? Yep. Pretty much everybody kind of responds to that. Well, we're going to have a bit of a look at digital twins, which are powered by AI, and how they can be used to help power our future enterprise. So there are two huge human needs, one of which is, let me advance the slide, time. We all need more time to get everything done. And the greatest growth in that demand on us is the digital growth. It used to just be a bit of email, now it's email, 5 messaging apps, Zoom calls, research we need to do, the list seems endless. So time is something we really need, especially in that digital space. And you can see some quotes there from people like Steve Jobs. It's really clear the most precious resource we all have is time. Time is the ultimate currency. I wish there were two of me in 48-hour days so I could get everything done. Now, one of the world's biggest other shortages isn't just time, it's trust. And I come from a media background and news has actually had a bit of a journey with trust. So it started off several hundred years ago. Forebearers would have got their news from the town crier. Way before the newspaper, there would have been the town crier. They would have recognized his face in the town, and they would have listened to the news that was being given to them, and they would trust it because they recognized his face. What happened is, to reach more people, newspapers, the printing press started. We started to get our news from little pieces of paper. Well, how did I know that this piece of paper was more trustworthy than this piece of paper? They needed to give it a kind of face. They put a brand on the top, a masthead, so that we would identify it easily and say, oh, I can trust that piece of paper. That's how newspaper delivered. Not quite as good as a real face, is it? So there was a bit of a lull in trust with news that way. It reached a crescendo again with TV news and the news anchor. And the reason we have news anchors, pretty much the same news anchors every night for decades, is because we trust their face. Even more than the news brand, we trust their face. But we've currently been through a lull in a trust in news, and that's because a lot of us don't watch TV news anymore. We get it from the internet, and we're not really seeing many faces. We're just getting this quite dry content. It's almost like back in the newspaper era. But that's all changing. We're now in the Zoom generation. We're all interacting with people, not just in phone calls, but face-to-face every day on things like platforms like Zoom. So people have a deep need for trusted human interaction. And we can plot trust and time on a graph like this and see the magic quadrant. What you tend to find is that in the far left, yes, we trust a person when they're in person with us the most, and so that's high on the trust, but that's pretty time heavy. To get around and see everybody is quite a time heavy thing. Hey, if we're a politician, we might go into a stadium. You know, not quite as much trust, and it's still quite time heavy, but we reach a lot more people. TV, we're reaching even more people, but trust is getting eroded. And by the time you get all the way down to websites, robocalls, text messaging, very efficient on time, but trust is at an all-time low. So what's interesting here is how do we get up in that high trust, highly efficient area? And that's where we're going to talk today a bit about ProxyTwin and how it works in that area there of high trust and high efficiency. So many of you in the room will have come across ProxyTwin. For those that haven't, let's look a little bit about what a ProxyTwin is.
Hi, I'm Mark, founder of ProxyTwin. Time is our greatest resource. Have you ever wished there are two of you? I certainly have. Every day I seem to have more opportunities than I can fit into a day. Well, for the last 2 years, ProxyTwin has been helping some of our greatest leaders be in multiple places at the same time on platforms like Zoom. And now we're scaling ProxyTwin to help blue chip organizations care for the relationships with thousands of their customers. So today, I'd like to introduce you to my very own ProxyTwin. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And it's good to see so many of you here. It's more than the real Mark gets. Anyway, I've only got about 5 minutes before I've got to go to another meeting, but it'd be really great to start by, let's have a look at a show of hands. How many people have heard of a digital twin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, that's interesting. It's about what we might expect to see. when you do hear of a digital twin, what does it make you think of?
Like an online replica?
Yeah, that's very close to what I might say. So to us, a digital twin is something like me. I can be here in front of you and I can interact with you. And it's a lot more fulfilling, isn't it, than just something that's pre-recorded. Really what it boils down to is three major advantages: time, space, and accessibility. What would you like to hear about first?
Space.
Okay, space. So you're often, feeling that need to be in two places at once. Ever felt that feeling where people are trying to draw you in several different directions, or more, your time is valuable, and but also you can't be in more places than once until now. That's something your twin can do for you. Okay, what do you want to talk about next?
Time.
Okay, so time, this is all about saving you time to be able to do the things that are most important to you. It could be family, it could be specific pieces of work where you're able to be most effective, or it could be more time to do the things that you love. Okay, so we've talked about time and space. Let's now talk about accessibility. Okay, accessibility. This is really to help those people that want to get hold of those important people that have key messages that they just can't pin down. Often, somebody may be asked to be on 3 different news programs at the same time. And so this is about access to those people with those important messages. This helps bring up access and maximize the access of the people who are best at getting messages across.
Hey, well, thanks for the introduction.
Oh, I'm sorry, we've completely run out of time, so I'm going to have to go, but thanks for your questions. The ones I haven't been able to answer, I'm going to pass on to the real Mark, and he'll get back to you. I've got to go. See you. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed meeting my proxy twin. Here's a quick taste of some of the other important proxy twins we've delivered. First of all, for Dr. Nick Coatsworth, who was the Deputy Chief Medical Officer during COVID.
Often people will get arm pain at the site of injection, so it's quite important to have it in your non-dominant arm rather than the one that you write with. And that is exceptionally common. 6 out of 10 is high. What does that tell you? It tells you that the vaccine is triggering exactly the response that it should. It's triggering your immune system.
And also for Dr. Rob Joyce, CTO of Nokia. Here's his proxy twin giving us information about their 5G networks.
Not only do we have high-speed connectivity provided by Nokia's 5G and fiber technologies, but we've also deployed Nokia Edge compute nodes in the lab. And these will allow us to test 5G cloud applications, delivering near real-time responsiveness.
And now we're scaling for large corporates. We'd love you to join us on this journey. Please do complete an expression of interest.
So this is the real me, back in the room, not my twin. We want to talk a bit about some of those large corporates, those enterprise solutions, and how what we've just shown you can be used on a much greater scale. We're currently in conversations with a number of these entities here. So while we've been focusing on the light blue part of this market to start with, we're now starting to focus on the top blue part. We're in quite advanced conversations now with the bank to talk about their call center solution. The issue we all have with call centers is one which I'm sure everyone can see is room for much improvement. I'll talk a little bit more on the detail on that soon. We're also in conversations with a leading global law firm around increasing the billable hours of their top partners. So they're obviously very excited about the idea of having their lawyers being able to bill more, and by multiplying their top partners by a factor of 5, 6, 7, they're very keen to see how that can help their businesses grow. There's also examples there in terms of telehealth. You saw Nick Coatsworth, and the example of having a trusted expert give advice on key issues can be something which we can share across huge, big parts of the population at a very low cost. So why don't I talk a bit about one of those specific examples, which is the banking industry. And call centers are faceless and can erode brand trust. We all probably have stories of when it hasn't worked well for us. when we call into a call center. You know, it's a tough job working in a call center. So in this example, Amy there, she's got to juggle multiple customers. She's got to stay on script and remain friendly for her whole 8-hour shift. She's got to juggle the customer interaction with the use of different systems to resolve and fix the problems that she's hearing on the phone. It's not an easy job. And businesses rely on large numbers of individuals. So they have a huge bill in terms of paying for all those individuals to represent their brand. Customers, as a result, often experience queues, delays, and low rapport because we're actually just in a phone call. So 80% of our communication is nonverbal, and we're missing out on all of that rapport we would get in a real human interaction. In fact, have you ever wondered why are we still phoning into call centers? That's a 1980s technology, right, to call in on the phone to a call center. There's a whole generation growing up now who don't really ever make phone calls. Yep, they're the Zoom generation. They have face-to-face video calls with people. So let's take a look at what a ProxyTwin solution can do. This means that people can choose who they want to talk to with no queuing, and they can choose which platform. So they can talk to them on Zoom, on Microsoft Teams, on WhatsApp, to have a real conversation with the person. There's no more queuing. ProxyTwin, we can create 1,000 copies of the particular individual. We can have well-known individuals. So if it's an airline and Qantas wanted to have a brand ambassador like Nicole Kidman could answer all of their customer service queries. So no more queuing, perfect interaction every time. They never have a bad day. Issues get resolved faster. Why do issues get resolved faster? Well, while the ProxyTwin is managing that whole conversation with you, what happens is the live transcript is read by some of the engineering team who are then working to fix the issues behind the scenes. So you don't have to employ people who have this hybrid of skills, customer-facing and issue resolution. You can just hire great people who are able to fix the issues, so you get more issues fixed faster. You get better brand rapport. So you get a higher referral from the brand when you provide a great experience, and cost savings. So as we said, you don't need to hire such a huge, enormous workforce of customer call center, and you can provide a better solution. Hope that's given you a little bit of a taste of what we're doing. As an organization, ProxyTwin has been around for 3 years. We delivered the Dr. ProxyTwin during COVID. We delivered the Nokia example you saw as well the year after that. Last year, we were here at Wholesale Investor, and we launched our capital raise, which we are closing next month. That's going to allow us to grow, to deliver a lot of those enterprise solutions and scale for those that you saw. And we launched in the US last month, so we've got quite advanced conversations going on with a number of clients in the US. We've got a first employee in Washington for that. And we'll be closing the round we're in next month. So if you haven't already spoken to us, do talk to us. We're taking expressions of interest up until the end of February. So do get in soon. And we will be scaling for this commercial growth in 2025. Now, the team who are doing that, let's put those people on. We've got myself, of course. I've got a background. I was the head of digital at the ABC, and that's my media background. We've got Tim Surgeonor, who's in the room, who's got a BPO background. He's also a lawyer, and he's got a great track record as an entrepreneur with successful exits. Dan Avis is our CTO. He's a great product guy who comes from the media industry. And Lucy Baker is our head of operations, formerly Ernst & Young. Do come and talk to us. We're around after this, and we're going to stay and have drinks and socialize too. Thank you very much for your time.